Yes, whatever I put as the thumbnail will be correct. And today, your host, Connor, will be trying to say one underrated aspect of the Chaos Legions that, sticks out to me. So you're probably thinking, Connor, what's the point of this? Why do I care about what underrated aspect these legions have? Why do I want to hear that from you? I'll tell you why. I'm something of an expert. Nah, I'm just playing. I don't know. It's a goofy video. I just wanted to put something out there, and I wanted to see what other people thought about what clicks with them with the Chaos Legions and all that stuff. So let's start the bat off with one of the more talked about ones for me personally, because I've been reading a lot of Emperor's Children stuff. Emperor's Children. So I think underrated wise, and this is coming from a novel reader's perspective, they're actually really, really organized when they want to be, and that's a highly effective skill for them to utilize, especially amongst any Chaos Legion and or Warband. When Emperor's Children have a goal to unify them, they are, quite frankly, super, super effective in whatever it is they're trying to accomplish. So yeah, right off the bat there, definitely that would be their underrated. A lot of people think they're all scatterbrained and in it for their own glory, which they totally are. But when it overlaps, when everyone can achieve glory by doing one simple thing, they turn super, super cohesive, and it's like almost a completely different Legion attitude when they decide to unify for the briefest 5 minutes to kill a dude, and then they go back to turning civilians into space dust and snorting them. So that would be, all right, Emperor's Children. Let's go Night Lords. So I'm not the biggest Night Lords fan, but I will say, however, they're a lot more tactically inclined than you would believe. So what does that really mean, Connor? What does that mean? So when I think Night Lords, I think they, terror tactics and all that stuff, and that's all well and good. But kind of calling back to the Night Lords omnibus and all that, if you want, out of all the Chaos Legions, Night Lords are gonna win a fight in the most effective way possible. But you're thinking, Connor, you just said that about the Emperor's Children. Yes, because they're gonna do it in an efficient way. Night Lords are going to use every dirty, underhanded, cowardly tactic ever, but it always really works for them because they usually are always going to survive. They'll either win the battle or it's, to quote, not verbatim, but as close as I can to the omnibus, I think it was one of them in Talos's warband. I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but he's essentially like, we're Night Lords, it's either we win or we're going to fight super unfair and run away. And that sticks out to me because a lot of other Space Marine Chaos Legions really have this sort of weird pride thing where they want to just die achieving whatever it is they can. Night Lords aren't like that. They're super pragmatic in the way that they do not give a shit if it besmirches their honor. They're going to poke you in the eyes and, kick you where the sun don't shine. That's what they're going to do. And then they're going to run away if it doesn't work out. So super underrated portion of that. I don't think something that gets talked about remotely enough when it comes to Night Lords and all that stuff. So, what else? Who are we going with next? I'm going to make this difficult. So, Iron Warriors. I know almost nothing about Iron Warriors, like almost next to zero, except for some excerpts. Like I know who Hansu is. That's probably the basest level of extent I have to my knowledge of them. So what's an underrated part of them? Well, honestly, I was gonna say creativity, but that's not really something underrated because they're known for like demon engines and all that stuff. So I don't know if I can do an underrated on them. So I think if I were to go really underrated as someone who knows nothing about them, maybe it's like their pettiness, because that's like super highlighted in there, but there's different degrees of it. But I don't know. We'll skip them. Someone can fill that in the comments and can educate me on the glorious petty bastards that are Iron Warriors. So let's skip them and let's go to my boys, my personal favorite, Khorne's Chosen, blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne, the World Eaters. Underrated about them? It's hard to say because everything about them is perfectly rated. They're killing machines. They're extremely, strength oriented. They're berserkers. All these aesthetic things I quite actually enjoy. So of course I'm inclined to say they're perfectly rated. They're at the pyramid. They're at the very top. They are perfect. But for the sake of this video, I can't really say that. So I would like to think as well, underrated portion of what would be World Eaters, they're not idiots. So a lot of people, whether it be because of meme lore or some shitty excerpt that kind of cuts away from what World Eaters are, I wouldn't say they're just mindless killing machines. They are when there's a battle. If there's not a battle, they're in constant pain, yes, but there are World Eaters who are capable of forming complex strategy when it comes to battle. Khorne is no exception. Khorne can, in fact, hold a conversation and conduct mental, like scenarios in which he would formulate a strategy. Underrated would be their intelligence. They're not dumb. Some of them definitely are. Even the smart ones can be stupid when the battle lust is activated, but they're absolutely, when the nails are biting, I get it. You have to get up, start shadow boxing. Completely get it. If anyone gets that reference, make me smile. But they are severely underrated in the intelligence department most of the time. They are capable of complex thought, guys. They're not just muscle-bound freaks. They're intelligent muscle-bound freaks sometimes. Okay, moving on from there, we have the Death Guard. So I know a decent amount of Death Guard lore. I've read Flight of the Eisenstein. I've read Lords of Silence. So I've got a kindergartner's knowledge level of my stinky boy Mortarion, if you will. But underrated, their Legion culture. So I know that's kind of like an ass pull. So someone's gonna be like, what does that mean? Well, when it comes to how strong of a bond that these legions have and the cohesiveness they have in modern day 40k, Death Guard's definitely up there. And I don't really know if a lot of people, it may be recognized, but I don't think it's stated as much as it should be. They are definitely one of the most cohesive legions left when it comes to chaos. They pretty much, even though loyalties are definitely split between Mortarion and Typhus, they're still pretty much almost aligned exactly to the T with serving Nurgle. There may be some minor differences, like you like sprinkles, I don't like sprinkles. We both like ice cream. Like, you get what I'm saying? So underrated would be their cohesiveness as a legion, which also, funnily enough, I was going to say about our next entry into this video, the Word Bearers. But since I use this, I have to kind of trail it back and let's go with something else. So I know, again, almost zilch about the Word Bearers. I know very little. I've maybe watched an Amber King video on Lorgar, and I would say that's pretty much the extent. I watched an Erebus video just so I can get better with knowing who the characters are. I only know Logar from like the Corvus Corax memes of him stalking him in his tower while he meditates, but we're not here for meme lore, we're here for what very little actual lore I do know. So underrated aspect of the Word Bearers would probably be, I would say how versatile they are. So that may be a little unorthodox for this specific video, seeing as how underrated things for the Legion. But if we're gonna look at this from a meta sense, you can really put them in the same category as Alpha Legion, where you can put them in video games, novels, animated shorts. They can really act as a default, antagonist to whoever you would put them up against, be it Eldar, Loyalists, Orcs, Tyranids, Necrons. It wouldn't matter because they really act as this cohesive foil to whoever they're up against. So, kind of taking it from a literary perspective, that's where I would put their underratedness, that their versatility is really, really good in that aspect. And since we're already talking about Alpha Legion, I would say the same, except that's not fair to you guys because I need to struggle a little bit more to find something underrated about them. Which I just found because I'm reading Legion right now, and I'll be real with y'all, Legion's kind of a snooze fest, but I'm only on chapter 2, so what does that say about me? But I would say an underrated sort of aspect of the Alpha Legion would absolutely probably be their independence, because unlike the Emperor's Children or any of the other ones, just put this out of the blue, the Alpha Legion are so different in the aspect that they've never, I would say, revered Alpharius, / Omegon. They really always operate within their own goals and overarching goals, and they do different things to achieve that, And I understand their whole thing is, I'm gonna go right, but then I go left, but actually there's a tunnel and I just came up the tunnel. This is a lie. I get that they're always supposed to confuse you and no one's supposed to truly know what their goals are. There's loyalists who are traitors who are loyalists. I get that, but that's not really underrated because that's just who they are. But their independence is really unique because I haven't seen anything where they openly revere their Primarchs. They respect them as leaders, but they also know that they can function without them. Alpharius is just a name. It's not just something to be revered and feared like the Allfather or Fulgrim or the Warhawk or the Pale King. These are titles that invoke fear and reverence within the legions that they are respectively belong to. This doesn't coincide with Alpha Legion. That's not how it works, So, right off the bat their independence is severely underrated. So let's see. Am I missing anybody? We've done Motarian, Perturabo, Angron's Legion. I think I've pretty much covered all of them. I think I did Night Lords. Oh, no, I didn't. I'm missing Magnus. The Thousand Suns. So the final part of this entry for most underrated aspect of their Legion would probably be... Their most underrated for Thousand Suns? I don't know. So, I've been reading... Is it here? No, I don't have it here. The Ahriman Omnibus, and what I'll say is too, this might coincide with what I said with Death Guard. They're really tight as a legion, and sometimes when they're actually focused on a goal, much like the Emperor's Children, it really seems to work out for them really well. I think a lot of people would look to Thousand Suns, and when they would look for things that are overrated about them, obviously they can spam, the warp and magic hacks and whatnot, and I get that, but they're also, I'm gonna say they share a lot of different similarities with all the different Chaos Legions I've just talked about. Like, they're obviously pretty intelligent. They also act independently from Magnus. They still respect Magnus, but there are a lot of warbands who actively do their own thing and don't rely on the word of Magnus. So, honestly, for underrated, I'd say it's a little bit of everything I mentioned, which is kind of a cheap answer, I know, from every other Legion. Like, they're pretty good, and they also aren't just focused in magic. Like, they definitely are, but there's different subcategories of warp, magic and all that stuff. So they're just versatile as well. So I know that's kind of a cop out, but what can you do? I'm not super up to date with my lore when it comes to Thousand Sons or even Iron Warriors, but at least now I know what novels I have to go look for if I want to increase my lore mastery status. So thank you guys. This was all about the underrated aspects of each legion that is belonging to Chaos. So thanks for sticking around. Really appreciate it. And other than that, I am out.